Howdy folks, let me introduce you to the Trac. This is a 2002 Ford Explorer Sports Trac, a very unusual, unique vehicle, and I brought along my buddy Brendan so we could talk all about it in this little review.
Yeah, this is actually based on the second generation Ford Explorer, and which a lot of people may think was based on the Ranger because that first gen Explorer was based on the Ranger. However, this was kind of its own unique platform, and so this isn't really a four-door Ranger. This is really an Explorer with a truck bed on the back, which makes it really weird.
Yeah, not only that, but it's a 4-foot composite bed. Let's check this out because this is really what the business end is. This truly is a mullet, right? All business in the front, party in the back. This is composite, and these were really interesting beds because they're relatively deep, and at the time, kind of unique in terms of its overall proportions and its overall capability. You could hold between 1,300 and 1,500 pounds on the truck, depending on how these things were configured. We'll talk about that in just a second.
But Nathan,
now,
what is this? Like,
it's an
why
extender.
is this taking up half of the bed? This is like limiting the usage back here.
At the time, if you recall, there was another vehicle called the Subaru Baja. And it had a very similar sized bed, although this is much, much deeper. And that also had one of these bed extenders as well. I gotta be careful opening this because as you can see, they used Ford adhesive to make sure the back doesn't come off.
Well, it seems to be holding it all right.
It's holding it okay. Yeah, bed extender. Now, once you put this down, or even without this, you had nearly 6 feet of length in this, and yeah, okay, not a very big bed, but big enough if you took a dirt bike, motorcycle, and you put it in that way, you could actually fit it in here.
You know, nowadays this would never pass because you have the rear camera that would be sitting on the tailgate, and as soon as you fold this down, your rear camera wouldn't work. So we wouldn't be able to do this in modern times.
Unless you had the rear camera up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be the only way to make it work.
Well, the other thing I like before we put this back up is there's actually a 12-volt power outlet there.
Isn't that
on
cool?
The inside of the truck bed. I think that's a pretty unique idea. I mean, especially considering this is 2002, or this came out in what, 2000?
Around 2000, that's right.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty new idea back then.
Now, at the time, they had two models of this. They had both of them the V6, which is a 4-liter Cologne V6, put out 210 horsepower, but they had a manual transmission 5-speed, and they had, like this one, an automatic.
Wait. Are you telling me you could get this with a manual and 4x4?
Yes, they're really super, super rare. This is definitely a 4x4 because it says it right there.
Multiple times. It says it on the sides too.
Yeah, because you gotta have that. This is, remember, you know, not long after the 80s where they still liked a lot of lettering. But there's a lot of cool stuff that's going on here. This had to compete against, you know, the Tacoma, which also had a cab configuration with proper doors, and of course the Nissan Frontier and the Chevy Colorado and stuff like that. But this still was a Ford Explorer with the interior, which was really super cool because it was a very comfortable interior. Now, this is basically one step above the base version of it. So these are cloth seats. By the way, this is in really good condition. But I wanted to show you something with these seats.
Well, these seats are actually pretty comfortable back here.
Right?
Not only that, but you do have some rear cup holders, and then you do have your own climate controls back here, Nathan.
Yeah, but I wanted to show you something that the seats can do, which is kind of cool. So check this out. There's a handle right over here, where my thumb is going to go, and thummy pushy, and this.
Now, why would you want to do that?
So you have a perfectly flat area here.
Okay.
You can do the same thing there, and there's cargo. I'm going to open this up, and you can just go on in there and have a look. Extra cargo that you could hide stuff in there. You know, if you have teeth polish or hair extensions for Roman, that could all fit in there very easily.
You know, one thing that they kind of missed out on here that I think would have been cool is they could have avalanched it a little bit and made a mid-gate that also folds down, that extends the bed into the cab.
Very good point, but they didn't do that. A couple of reasons for that, and some of it had to do with structure and whatnot, but the Avalanche was out at the same time that this was. However, it does have a party trick. Let me show you. Stay right there. One thing it could do, I just have to remember where the button is. And it's... Is that the button? Here we go.
So wait, is it the rear window, Nathan, that we're showing off here? Oh yes, it does go down a little bit. You got it. Does it keep going or is it stuck?
There it goes.
Oh, look at that.
Sorry. Now, if you think about it, if you lower those seats, you could actually haul a fairly large piece of lumber in here, and you could decapitate your passenger with that piece of lumber in here. But in all honesty, this is a really neat little utility trick. Toyota does it with certain vehicles, but I love the fact that Ford did it, and they did it with their second generation as well.
I mean, that's a pretty cool thing. It would be better with a midgate still, but I do like the idea. The only thing is, again, if you have this closed, you're going to have a hard time getting
This is
wood
totally
back
removable.
here.
Yeah, you could pop this out and just leave this in your garage, though. This is
nice.
this is not permanent.
Okay.
A couple things I want to show you on the outside. Now, compared to a regular Explorer, where the wheelbase would bring this in, a few inches forward, the overall length of this thing is over a foot longer
Than the Explorer.
Yes, but if you got the second generation of this, which started in 2007, then overall the wheelbase was much longer, several inches longer. It was a totally different vehicle. That one, unlike this one, had an independent rear suspension, and it had a V8 option in addition to the Cologne V6.
Well, and the other thing that I know the commenters are going to mention if we don't is the Firestone debacle, right? This is the second generation Explorer, and I know the second generation Explorers had the exploder, right, nameplate because of the Firestone tires exploding on the highway. Did this have that same issue that you know of?
As far as I know, it did not fall in the same category because it was a very different type of vehicle. They were still building two-door versions of the Explorer with this generation, if I recall.
They were.
And those are the tippiest ones. Of course, this is different because of the wheelbase and everything else, but many of you guys, if you know for sure, let us know. But this isn't wearing Firestones right now.
That's true.
So we're safe.
So we're good.
Everything is
we're
okay.
in the clear.
Yeah, that's right. So a couple final notes on this vehicle. Didn't tow a lot. Maximum was about 52 to 5,500 pounds. But if you got the manual transmission version of this, it was closer to 2,500 pounds and change.
Oh, so you got a little penalty for
you got a major
manual?
penalty. Yeah, that happens. And if you notice, because of the wheelbase, this was not exactly what I would call ideal for off-roading, especially with your breakover angle.
Yeah, I mean, with that extended truck bed, you're giving up a little bit of the off-road goodiness to have a little bit of utility there in the back. So I guess if you want to do off-roading, I would just get the regular Explorer, because that's going to be much better off-road for you, right? I mean, they still have proper 4x4, but I do really like this generation of Explorer. I think I might prefer the first generation, but this one's pretty cool, especially with that Sport Trac back on it. You just don't see these nowadays, but I think that this is kind of coming back in vogue. I mean, think to your Hyundai Santa Cruz, right?
Yep.
That is where they took an SUV and they lopped off the back of it and put a truck bed in it. And so this is kind of like an early trendsetter, you could say, where they took an SUV and made it a trucky SUV.
You know what the best part about this is?
What's that?
This has cruise control.
Yeah.
It's an inside joke for those of you who watch what Andre does.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, so I hope you appreciate this vehicle. These things are pretty cool. What do you think something like this would fetch at an auction?
I mean, this is an 02. It's got 177,000 miles on it. It's actually in pretty decent shape. A lot of these old Explorers that you see have been well used, and I would say something like this here at a dealer auction is probably going to fetch in the $1,500 to $2,500 range.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
Really?
They just aren't worth a whole lot.
Even with the pickup truck bed?
Even with the pickup truck bed, but maybe out in the used market they're going to be worth a little bit more, but I still think you could realistically pick one of these up in the $5,000 range, maybe even a little bit less if you get one that's got some problems.
Yeah, I think Roman would buy one of these for $10,000 easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, he likes to spend money on cars.
He does indeed. So let us know what you think in the comments below. First of all, if this thing is worth more than that, and second of all, if you would own one of these, or if you have, I'm curious to your experience. Now, I had a good friend who had one of these, and it was a great little fishing truck. It towed his little aluminum boat back and forth, no problem at all. It was nice on the highway with this long wheelbase. It had a nice smooth ride. It's a really good little truck, I thought.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think they got a lot of love.
Yeah, I mean, that's because it's kind of like a cross between two things that do two completely different things. A lot of people either want an SUV or they want a truck. There's just not a lot of people that want a trucky SUV, and that's where this just kind of falls.
All right, well, let us know what you think in the comments below. We'll see you next time.
Take care.